Hello, my name is Jim McKenzie, and I work for the Mariposa County Resource Conservation District. The image you are looking at is a typical stand of oaks in the Sierra Foothills. Oaks provide a beautiful viewscape as well as habitat for an amazing number of organisms, plants, and creatures. The number of oak wildlife dwellers puts oaks at or near the top of any list of habitat providers in any ecosystem. We have divided the subject of oaks into 4 videos. The first 3 have subtopics. You are now watching the first video, an introduction to oaks. It explains in some detail the central role played by oaks in our forest ecosystem. It also describes the 7 most prominent oak species in California. The second video talks about various kinds of ecosystem disturbances, such as drought and wildfire, which can cause problems for oaks and may in fact kill them. Fire can also have a positive effect on oaks under the right circumstances. The third video explains how to maintain oaks, what to do and what not to do to keep your trees and your oak forest alive and healthy. The emphasis in this video is on mitigation of the potential negative effects of wildfire and on reinforcement of its potential positive effects. And the fourth video describes the various techniques used to propagate oaks from acorns. First of all, we will explore the many positive contributions that oak trees make to the ecosystem. We will also touch on life in California over the centuries. So, we begin with a bit of history. It is estimated that at one time there were 300,000 of the original native inhabitants living in what is now California. The principal language group found in and around Mariposa and Tuolumne counties is what we now call Sierra Miwok. In the areas adjacent to the Sierra Miwok were other language groups: Yokut, Mono, Paiute, and Washoe. Members of these groups traded with one another and cooperated in other ways. It is also probable that they spoke one another's languages to some extent. These people had and still have a major effect on the forests of California, creating openness with their use of fire. Fire also aided them in cultivation of plants used for food, implements, and other purposes. Oak acorns are a major source of native food and a cultural legacy, and over the centuries, practices were developed and implemented to take care of oaks by keeping other vegetation far enough away to ensure that the trees were safe from high-intensity fire should it occur. At the same time, using low-intensity fire near the trees deals with insect life in the leaf mulch, preventing infestation of the acorns on the tree by acorn worms. In this way, an important food source and cultural resource is protected. Periodic instances of low-intensity fire around the trees is also an important contributor to oak tree health, providing soil nutrients and eliminating competition from other plants. Today, descendants of the original Californians consume acorns as a traditional food both at ceremonies and at gatherings. They are also active in forest management, using fire and other traditional methods, and they are an important provider of traditional ecological knowledge as we all seek to make forests safe from high-intensity wildfires. Oaks exist all over California, mostly on private land. Oaks are unique and possess many properties that other trees don't. There are many oak species beyond the basic ones we describe in this video, and within a single species, there exist many variations in leaf color, size, and shape. Oaks drop leaves that then filter water. All water in California flows through a layer of leaves on the ground in oak woodlands. Wildlife depend upon oaks. Oaks support over 300 species of vertebrate animals and provide food for more species of moths and butterflies than any other plant. And as we discussed in the previous slide, oak acorns historically provided food for humans as well. About 5,000 invertebrate species depend upon oaks, and about 800 feed on oaks. This also supports the many bird species that consume the feeding invertebrates, especially during nesting season. Oaks enhance property values. They are landscape workhorses. They add beauty and shade to your land and don't require much water or care. In addition, oaks remove carbon dioxide, a greenhouse gas, from the air and store carbon. This is one of the most important contributions made by oaks. All oaks drop their leaves sooner or later. The deciduous oaks drop them all in the fall and grow new ones in the spring. Evergreen oaks also drop their leaves, but don't do it seasonally. They do it gradually, little by little. The dead leaves on the ground decompose, providing nourishment to its oak and to other plants. The leaf material filters rainwater and prevents the water from eroding the soil. As the water slowly makes its way through the leaf litter, it will soak into the ground, eventually making its way to a spring or to a watercourse or to someone's well. To reiterate, we think the number of invertebrate species that depend upon oaks is around 5,000 or so, and the number that feed on oaks is about 800. The species most often cited are butterflies and moths. These creatures have 4 stages in their life cycle: egg, caterpillar, pupa, and adult. During the caterpillar stage, the creature consumes oak leaf material many times its own weight. It passes through the pupa stage to the adult stage, where it lays eggs. The cycle then repeats itself. Birds feed on all these forms, especially during nesting season. One reason the original native inhabitants burned under oaks was to eradicate the development of insects in the mulch, which were likely to bore into acorns and render them unfit to harvest and eat. A large number of vertebrate species also depend on oaks for food. A principal food the oaks provide are acorns, and their production of acorns is emphasized in whatever you read about oaks. And as we mentioned earlier, humans have historically consumed oak acorns after shelling, grinding, and cooking. But oaks provide other foods besides acorns. Included in this list are tree foliage and insects. Deer and insects feed on oak foliage, and reptiles, birds, and amphibians feed on insects. Acorns provide food for many in the vertebrate community. How many vertebrate species eat acorns? It depends on who you ask. The National Wildlife Federation quotes a number greater than 100. Some of the creatures in our area that consume acorns are deer, black bears, gray squirrels, ground squirrels, chipmunks, wild turkeys, crows, rabbits, opossums, blue jays, quail, doves, raccoons. The list goes on and on. For some, acorns provide a major component of their food supply. Wildlife feasting on acorns in the fall causes a layer of fat to be formed to carry them through the winter. There are many native plants that can coexist with oaks. Usually these are plants with the same water, exposure, and soil requirements. They should be planted well out beyond the tree's drip line. Of the many possibilities, 3 come to mind because of their attractiveness: greenleaf manzanita, buckeye, and toyon. For a complete treatment of this subject, consult Compatible Plants Under and Around Oaks, published by the California Oak Federation. Oak leaf litter acts as a mulch and provides nutrients. It also provides habitat for mycorrhizal fungi. Mycorrhiza, which is a fungus, holds the plant community together and provides some of its foundation. So if you disturb the soil, you break up the interconnected web of fungi and in doing so disrupt the health of the plant community. Mycorrhizae increase the root surface area of the plant so that many more nutrients can be taken in, as well as water. It helps to break down organic material to release nutrients to the plant, mostly phosphorus. It also inhibits other organisms and pathogens. The fungus can be connected over many miles underground and move water and nutrients from plant to plant within the native plant community. The fungi receives carbon compounds from the photosynthesis of the oak. A question arises: what harm or good does periodic low-intensity fire provide to the below-ground mycorrhizae? That is currently unknown, but a research project at Stanford University beginning in 2021 may provide the answer. Finally, be aware of the role dead or dying oaks play in providing animal habitat. Don't cut them down or remove them. They have a useful purpose. Pictured on the left is an upright hollow oak snag that can be home to birds, small mammals, and insects. On the right, we see a hollow log lying on the ground. This is a perfect home for rodents, reptiles, or ground-dwelling birds. Our discussion now shifts to oak species. This is a word or two about identifying oaks. Here we talk about only one aspect: leaf edge configuration. Different oak species have leaves of different sizes and colors with different edge configurations. Numbers 1, 2, and 3 in the image on your screen have lobed edges. Number 2 has pointed lobes, while numbers 1 and 3 have rounded lobes. All three are deciduous. Numbers 4 and 5 have spiny edges, while numbers 6 and 7 have smooth edges. 4, 5, 6, and 7 are all evergreen. Edge configuration is only one of the attributes used to identify oak species. Additionally, one needs to look at leaf size, bark, number of leaf lobes, lobe depth, acorns, locality, and whether the tree is evergreen or deciduous. Complete information to support accurate oak species identification may be found in a field guide specifically written for your locale. They do exist, but you might have to look for them. We have now added the species names to our display. Number 1 is from a blue oak. Number 2 is from a black oak. Number 3 is from a valley oak. 4 and 5 are from an interior live oak, and 6 and 7 are from a canyon live oak. It should be emphasized that different leaves from the same tree are a bit different in shape, color, and size. Likewise, the same is true of leaves from different trees of the same species. Next, we will describe the species in more detail. The image on your screen is that of a valley oak, whose Latin name is Quercus lobata. This stately oak is the largest oak in California. It is deciduous, which means it loses all its leaves in the fall and sprouts new ones in the early spring. The area of California where it can be found is in the lower elevations, especially in or near the Central Valley. It likes to live in loose soil with groundwater close by. In the left-hand image, we see a sample of valley oak leaves. They vary from 2 to 4 inches in length, and they have rounded lobes, as you can see. The bark, shown in the middle image, is gray, arranged in a check pattern with vertical fissures. The fissures can become quite deep in older trees, and the bark can be thick in older trees, making those older trees tolerant of medium-intensity fire. You can see valley oak acorns in the image on the right. They are long and tapered. Valley oaks can grow quite tall, up to 120 feet. They are the largest oaks in North America. Their stem, or trunk, can grow up to 4 feet or more in diameter. They can live a long time, up to 250 years, and some experts give them an even longer potential lifespan of 400 to 600 years. Valley oak seedlings are somewhat tolerant of shade. Adult trees are not tolerant of shade at all. Valley oaks are generally found at lower elevations, usually between 500 and 2,000 feet. Exceptions have been found much higher, though, at elevations above 5,000 feet. They are to be found in well-drained valley bottoms or stream beds. The image shown on the previous slide is typical. The Oregon white oak, Quercus garryana, has its primary habitat in California along the coastal areas north of San Francisco. That primary range extends to the east in sunnier, drier areas. There has been a migration, however. A string of sightings have been made in the Sierra Nevada foothills extending as far south as Bakersfield. They exist in Mariposa County in substantial numbers. Some of the sightings in our area are documented on a map found in Calscape, a publication of the California Native Plant Society. The Oregon white oak is deciduous. The leaf structure has shallow lobes with blunt, spineless ends. Tree height for mature trees reaches 80 feet. Preferred habitat in our area is sunny, open hillsides. Here we see a typical stand of blue oaks. This species of oak inhabits the foothills surrounding California's Central Valley. It is endemic to that area, meaning that it cannot be found elsewhere. The blue oak is so named because of its leaf color, which has a blue cast, as shown in the center image. The light gray bark, seen in the image on the left, is arranged in shallow, narrow strips. Leaves are configured with wavy edges or margins, sometimes slightly lobed, again as shown in the center image. The trunk can grow to a 2-foot diameter, and the tree can be long-lived, up to 450 years. Blue oaks like hot, dry sites with rocky soils, and they have no tolerance for shade. They may tolerate low-intensity fire, but have little or no tolerance for high-intensity fire. They inhabit the Sierra Foothills at elevations usually between 500 and 2,000 feet, but never higher than 3,500 feet. This image is of a stand of black oaks. The picture was shot in mid-fall, when the leaves of this deciduous tree turn various shades of yellow, orange, and brown prior to falling to the ground. Black oak acorns have a larger diameter than most other species, giving them a stubby look. Diameters range between 1/2 inch and 3/4 inch. Length ranges between 3/4 inch and 1 inch. The leaves are deeply lobed, as seen in the second image. The lobes have spiny tips. The third image shows pink tree foliage which occurs in the springtime when the leaves are sprouting. In the fourth image, we see bark that was thin and smooth when the tree was young, but has become thick, ridged, and plate-like with age, much like a valley oak. Here are some other important characteristics of the black oak. Tree height varies between 60 and 90 feet. Trunk diameter for a mature tree varies between 1 and 4 feet. Lifespan can be 200+ years. Seedlings can stand some shade, but mature trees can't. Black oaks cannot tolerate high-intensity fires, but can resprout if the top is killed. Elevation for black oaks in the Sierra varies between 200 and 6,000 feet. This species likes forests and well-drained soils and occasional low-intensity fire. Black oak acorns are among the most edible for humans if properly prepared. They comprised a major portion of the diet of the original native Californians. This image shows the pink foliage one sees as a black oak sprouts leaves in the spring. The interior live oak is a wide-ranging member of the oak family and is found in most areas of the Sierra Foothills. It occurs in both tree and shrub form. Interior live oaks are evergreen, so they don't shed their leaves in the fall. The photo on the left shows the bark of a medium-aged tree. Young trees have a smooth gray bark, while older trees have a rougher and more furrowed bark as shown in the photo. On the right, we see a branch with smooth-edged leaves and an acorn that tends toward being long and thin. Interior live oaks can also have leaves with spiny edges. In fact, one can find both edge configurations on the same tree. The trunk diameter varies. A mature tree can vary between 1 and 3 feet. Lifespan can reach 200 years. These oaks are somewhat tolerant of shade, and they prefer some moisture. They are tolerant of fire and can resprout after a fire from branches high off the ground as well as from burnt stumps at the ground level. They are wide-ranging, and one is likely to find them anywhere in the Sierra landscape. They are found at elevations below 2,000 feet in the north and higher in the south. Like the interior live oak, the canyon live oak species is also evergreen. The tree in this image is 60 feet tall with about 60 feet of canopy spread. It is growing approximately 100 feet from a large intermittent stream, which usually has pools of water year-round. Springs abound in the surrounding area. There is a small pond within 15 feet of the tree's root mound that contains water in fall and winter and dampness at other times of the year. The small branch in the image on the left shows leaves that are leathery with smooth edges. They are about 2 inches long. The acorns are 1 1/4 inch long and plump. The acorn caps in this species are golden and fuzzy, as shown in this image. The golden caps provide a good clue to identifying the species as a canyon live oak. The bark on an adult tree is shown in the right image and is gray with vertical striations. Tree height can reach 80 feet. The trunk diameter can reach 4 feet. Lifespan can be up to 300 years. The tree is tolerant of shade, but there is variability in fire tolerance. The tolerance varies between fire-sensitive and fire-hardy depending on the individual tree and its location. But if it is hit hard, the tree can resprout after a fire. This species can usually be found at elevations from 300 to 5,000 feet, but it is ubiquitous, growing all over California, and has been found as high as 9,000 feet. Canyon live oaks are usually found in canyons, as the name suggests. This species likes semi-riparian areas near streambeds and areas that are sheltered and rocky. The oracle oak is a cross or hybrid between the interior live oak and the black oak. This occurs naturally and is quite common. The leaves of the oracle oak are variable from one tree to another. Some have similar characteristics to those of the black oak, lobed in the same way, spiked ends, and similar size. Some are more like the interior live oak with serrated edges. There is also variation among oracle oaks between deciduous and evergreen. Some are one way and some are the other. Like other hybrids, they can be quite variable. The image shown here was photographed in late October, when pure black oaks had already assumed fall colors. Oracle oaks can exist in places where both interior live oaks and black oaks are found a short distance from one another. This concludes part 1 of our video series on oaks. We hope you will stay with us to view the other videos in this series. Here are some reference works that could come in handy if you need more information as you view the oak series. You can access these on the internet by using the red search terms shown on the screen. There are 2 from the United States Forest Service. The first is Ecology, Management, and Utilization of California Oaks. Search for California Oaks PSW-44. The second is 5 Southern California Oaks. Search for California Oaks PSW-71. The next 2 were from the University of California, Division of Agriculture and Natural Resources. The first is Burned Oaks. Which ones will survive? Search for Burned Oaks 8445. The second is Living Among the Oaks. Search for Living Oaks 21538.